So it's, today is today's Yudal of Elul.
The river said William.
Yeah. Yudal of Elul, Toshin Samtes. Shir Hemschrein Beis Chelik Aleph. Sof Maima Diba Maskel Eya Tzlei Omein. Omot Tov Samach Ches. Ayin Tzvaro. We have the date and everything. Right, so we saw brought down in the Maima. This is though it's Mokum Kavur.
No, it's not Kavur, I can't see with my glasses from a distance.
But just move that along.
I have a Kavur, this doesn't sound
Right, so we saw there were two inyonim in Midas Rachamim, or in the Inyan Amshochas Midas Rachamim. One was we saw the Racham Shenimshach mitzad Ahergish v'Hatam, where the Marachim is Marish the Matzav of the Zulas, and he's Marish the Tsar of the Zulas, and mitzad Zeh hu Marachim Olav. And then we saw there was another time, which is Bika, the one that we're dealing with, and that is mitzad what we call the Teva HaMarumam Liyais Nimshach El HaShofel Davke. And we saw that the Union of that time was not a time that Efshel HaHasbir Al Piseicho. We saw that was the Loshen, it was Davke Ayin from Teva Hamarumam Liyais Nimshach El HaShofel. And that was mitzad the fact that Reimam Asamiti is Ayin from Hevdo Be'erach Legamre Mikol Dover. That's Ayin from Reimam Asamiti is. Which means that mitzad emes of Reimam is all inyonim Bilti Yetzim in a klal, all in a even of Shiflas Ha'era, the Tachlis. If Amele, Kasher, everything is B'Shiflas Ha'era, and the Merumam Ho'amiti sees how everything is B'Shiflas Ha'era and B'Tachlis Ha'bitul, or then there's a Teva, and there's a Dover Ha'bilti Muzba B'Seichel for what it is, or then there's a Ishabras between the Eimechurim and the Eimech Tachas. There's a Ishabras between the Meruma Ma'amiti with the Shofel. And Vibal, he's a Meruma Ma'amiti, then everything is Shofel, actually. Which means that Rachamim is not a Rachamim Mitzad Hergesh, and it's not even a Rachamim that we're able to be Masbid al Tamida. Now this is a teva from the etzem hamarumam to be nimshach to the inyan from shiflas and to be mischaber with them. Aber berege ibamela lefisa kommt is that the inyan of hergish in the first case is a sibba. It's a reason, and a time why there's rachamim. In other words, the jimagish, the tsar, or the chisoren, or the makabel, mameli give him the inyan from hashpoa, and mameli is a gvura which on keneged, which says lama ya magir levekaita v'zeh. Mameli is a do a kilo from midas rachamim, or the souls mitzad the inyan of herish. Well, that indicates, on the contrary, a shayches, as we saw here in the Maimah, a shayches and a kiruv between the two. The ila and the inyan from Reimamas Amitias is a beduk afuk mizeh. We can't really say that the Reimamas is a sibba and a reason for the inyan or rachamim, because there's absolutely no error. And there's no reason why he should be nimshach al adova she'en kol erech elo klal klal. And on the contrary, we see in normal inyonim, in normal in inverted commas, beseder ha'olam, where somebody is marumam, then everybody else has no erech legabi him, as he tends to be davke, how they call mudo and baliko shayches klal. So that's, we have to say that the biur is here because he's not a marumam amiti. He's only marumam lefi erech legabi certain madrigas in bnei odom or ka'etev zeh. Of a marumam amiti, what everything betachlis is betachlis hashiflis, that's levaim, as they call erech. And then we say there's a teva, li is the marumam amiti to be nimshech ela shofel, and then I'm shocher at the teva, then I'm shocher at the amitis marumam to the mitis hashofel mitzad the reimamas, mitzad reimamas amiti shaloi, or that's called teva. Thus, in other words, it's not a siba, no, this is a teva, as I mean. The rachamim is bilti mugbar klal, because everything which is totally in regish or hergish or is a ta'am afila, sichli is mugbar, it has a certain erech lefi ta'am v'regish azeh. Over who is kum mitzad an amiti sinim was nothing has any erech klal. Yomot is nimshach the rachamim b'shover l'gulam, and it's also nimshach, but even because that it's bilti the etzem rachamim, but etzem mahusa is bilti mugbar. Ein was a kilo gvul, ve'ein was a kilo shum tam, or hergish, it could be monea if it's a prat in the inyan rachamim. How do you call it? To use the expression in Yiddish, is kistach. It pours down the inyan rachamim, the local dollar cloud, like bolak cloud. That's what we were in the two inyonim that we saw, which are maybe lidei gilu harachamim. One is a siba, one is kind sibanit, one is mamish mitad inyan ateva bilvat. But mitad tam behesber eiko inyan to the thing which is shalei be'erach to certain makabim should be nimsha. And that's where we were. That's basically where we're holding on Tov Samach Ches. We're holding on that on the difference between those two inyan. So we saw that Lafise Kumtais. I think that's where we're holding. Tov Samach Ches, right near the end. I think we even finished the Os. Did we finish the Os? We didn't. So that's basically where we were holding. So we'll come in and be'erech in the lines ki'im be'ashofu davki hu is galas hareimanas. The davki in the shofel, a ki shofel, although he had this in is galas of the reimanas or amitias. And then he writes in brackets that the kamoy kein hula maila, the morim v'kodesh, that when the Eibush, if you take him how he is, morim. Well, it's well known, morim means inan from aliyah shalei hagabola. Like the Alter Rebbe said in reference to Shema, that Shema is a Rosh Hashanah, Su, Morim. Einechem, Ukilu mi bora ele, as wherever you go, and that's the word Eibishter, for example. The word Eibishter is that whatever level you'll be, he's Morim Mizeh. Therefore, the union from Morim is indicative of Reimam as Amiti, and Kodesh is also the union from Havdalah. Eshkoin es dako ushval ruach davke eshkoin, I will dwell davke with him. So we see that davke was to obey the inyan from morim v'kodesh. He can dwell, and he does dwell. Not he can, but he does. He dwells. But with the dako, dako means inyan of tebrochenkeit, that he called the kli nishbar, and shofel with inyan from tachas hashiflas. Davke, that's where the Gilead, their mitis are reimamas. The mashu hu p'chinas yesh, or something which is in the form of a yesh, hare ein ani v'hu yicholim lodo. But the Gemara brings the Masechta Seita dort, in the Afrei dort. But the Gemara talks about the inyan of midas, the inyan from Gadlus of the Eivishter, and Shiflas Adam, so the Gemara says, where the mensch feels himself for a Matthias, then the Kaviocha, the Abishah says that the town's not big enough for both of us. How does the old expression have it? Ayin ani v'hu yechelim lado, that we can't dwell together. Ani v'hu. Ani is the infinitesimus. But Ibis says who, and it feels it to be a who, and a Matthias. And then Ayin ani v'hu yechelim lado. As far as Lefisha, that what you might say, the Kli and the Hechreach, Chaim, do you know who that is?
Yeah.
Ben Tim, the Gedenkst Chaim. You remember Chaim? That's Ben Tim.
Oh, first guest. You got him the first guest.
You don't remember Chaim Tani? No.
I wasn't looking, just looking in the book. Yes, I say it's jet fuel.
I think you guys were after that time, no? He was after that time.
Very young people.
Right. I remember when Chaim Arad, you were wearing one of what they call those temple hats, you remember? One of those sort of hats that sat down on the head. Right. I'll go for him.
We've got it.
Eh?
Rav said that through Romamut, that everything's chapel bit better of
Right.
and now we're saying that mitzad gasot the ruach ain't any who yocholim in the door. Mashma that there's some error.
Yeah, no, was it the turret? Was it the turret? That's all Tolohi in the wind. You understand? I mean, the whole inyan of Gasas Aruch is a tour. It's a bluff. You know, there's no real. We see that Dafke the inyan the Odom can be mavalvo, but these sort inyanim. Lamasha was put down in was a bris yesterday by Avad Kimata Bris. So it's put down and gave the gile of the bris is mipnimis ak. Lama tzech ala shminius. Shminius is the mean from shmoidish or maila mishiva, and in them guva pnimis viatzmi. So it's put down that dafke when you cut the ola, then all of a sudden it's mishkal pnimis ak. The ola is mamisha adov moes eise koch yesh lazer lahavdil and had he called lahashtir legabi pnimis ak. Now it's put that Dafki was a zach was machzach for a Matthias, even though it's a Matthias shofel of hafucha Matthias be'etzem, or it can be mavalvo. Understand? Where does the inyan and the feeling of the inyan of Matthias and the what you might call the Stuckenzach and the Steckenzach, we medaft nit to use the expression, well that can be mavalvo biz in pnimisach, and that's a whole inyan. Ein ani v'hu, Eva zot there is a hu, ein ani v'hu yochelim lado. And the same thing we find in Perik Mem Zayin. The Alter brings Gavi the inyan from Gile Hayichud, Ha'elin, we say in Krishma. So the Alter says miyad shehu oimer mamshich alav es hayichud niklal hu ba'ayichud nafsho helakis v'des in the hayichud ele im kein. Ain't no right to chas v'sholem. If he doesn't want, maybe Zotek will this. I find he's bottling the yichud the blowing. What does it help? He says a will. This is the koch from the Odom that he can adequate with his heritage. He can be mavalved. He's in atzmosayt. He can get in the way. Well, this is the nakud. Adequate. Or that particular inyan, it's all up to you. Amamela, sagt der Rebbe, als davke mishu b'chinas yesh, harei ein ani v'hu yochel malo, ubederch klal, kol dover sheb'chinas metzius, ein ze kli lo'erein tzayim, ki im b'chinas habitul davke hu kli legile erein tzayim. Well, that's a klal. That's a klal yedua, what is a kli to Ein Seif? Was it a pshat Ein Seif? Ein Seif means Gile at the Eibishter. How it comes in an even from Ein Seif. And the truth of the matter is that all even which is mislavish and keglim, even which is miskale, kilo pnimi is also Ein Seif. Mitadetzim pnimi v'anaviyah shaloi miyamoke he's a van Ein Seif. What is the kli to that to be mekabel from where Ein Seif, and that the should be meya in you in a van pnimi? Or does it have to be from Beetle? You understand? The in where the mensch works, neged what the nefesh hativis and nefesh habam is making. Or that's a information. That is a kli to the gilui of the Ein Seif. I mean, the Ein Seif is there below, and you're anyway there, and the Ein Seif is anyway with you. You can't. There's no way you can run away from it. No, gilui Ein Seif, that the Ein Seif should mamish reveal itself in the Makabel, or the Stavkis for Bittel. Harei, Shaharei Memes Stavkis, says the Rebbe, Neisen Mochim Lekol Dover, Vegam Mishchaber Im Kol Dover. Tezeu Mashe Merumim Nimshech El HaShofer. So here's a tricky Lashon, and the Rebbe is going to, on that Lashon Gufa, he's going to be Makshe, Akushi, and a mention another couple of lines. Because if you say, we're saying that the Inifan Reimam is Hamitias implies automatically mitzad the Reimam is Kufa that everything is shiftless. Everything is tachlis shiftless, ain't as a kol era. And now we're using Lashon that everything is kilo mekabel mokim and noisin mokim l'kol davar. The Reimam is Hamitias is, as it were, able to give everything its value, as you might call, give everything its place. How do you say in the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, Ein lecha adam she'ein lo mokim. The Ein for mokim doesn't mean that he lives in street Pliny for Pliny and ear Pliny. But it means that he's got a certain error. He has a certain value. I feel like I be the Amitia Selakus. That's Ein lecha adam she'ein lo mokim. And remember the same thing here. The Reimam is Amitias. Yes, the Rebbe said the fact that the Reimam is Amitias is mischaber im kol echad ve'echad, or that to a certain extent is giving him a place. In other words, it's like the famous beer in Siddur that alidei what the Eivish is mitzaver some mitzvah, well that makes it possible for us to have some erot like every day as our megorish kishumer, or the fact that he reckons with us to command us, well that gives us kilo. It's like yode v'gitei boring ka'achas. It's like the two things he reckons with it on alidei zeh you become entity like over here, and then he relates to you. Now the same thing here. The very fact that the Eibishter is mischaber, the rachamim itself, gives you a mokim, and alidei when he gives you a mokim, then he has rachmanas on you. And remember the nimtza the etzem siba of the rachmanas, which is the reimamas, well that to a certain extent is like giving you a place. And that's what he says, that mitzad the Inifan Reimas Nation Machim called over, V'gam Mishchabim called over, and he said that that's what the Merumim is named Shechal HaShofer.
That's not Nishkidach Yidin.
Huh?
Kol Davar is the Ganze Bria.
Ganze Beb?
Abria, Nishkidach Yidin.
Yeah. If we're saying that he's meracham of everything, then ein chanami. It's I'm using the mashal of the auto. Yeah, it was stamodem is Israel. Amamere, the fisa is it's like kilo dover hipuche. The Reimam is mavatal everything. Everything is betachas hashiflas, and that makes it possible. Over the very fact that he is nimshech el hashofel, or that gives him aish chabras him the shofel. As berega, which you say is chabras, then he's given a certain erech to it. As Malcolm tells you, both things are true. The mitzad in a Reimam is betachas hashiflas, or mitzad that tachas hashiflas that becomes a invan erech, and that erech expresses itself in the etzem what the Merum is nimshech el hashofer. V'harei zeh el ha'hepod mimashin is bor li'il.
What's the difference between nosin makom and aber? Nosin makom l'kol davar, Mischabim Kodvar.
well, that's what we're saying. The two are, as it were, one and the same meaning, but they're like two portions of the same meaning. Al-Yidei, what he is Nimshach, El HaShofel, and Marachim al HaShofel, well, that means that he's Mischaber with the Shofel. And the Inim from the Rachamim is the Ischaber. However, what you say he's Mischaber with him, then he's giving him a certain place. The etzem Ischaber with him, that's giving him a certain place. And therefore he said the etzem Hamshocha in the direction of the Makabel, that already sort of, as it were, gives him a place. And the Ischabrus is the etzem Gilui of the Rachamim. And that's the Indian of the Marumim Nimshach El HaShofel. Amir said the Rebbe is there ha'ipok mimashin is boli or besfiras tetoihu. That's the very opposite of what we said earlier. Beneged tetoihu shaloi nosnu mochim zela. They didn't give any place one to the other. And not only did they not give place one to the other, but they were not able to put up or to bear one the other. Well, we saw that was an even deeper inyan. That was a inyan from mamish isnagdas one to the other. That's a inyan from bittul. Yeah, one is kilo bottle and one is a chashiva. Or we say eno yochel ulispoil is another mice altogether. And he said koze humitada haroimamet. And it's like a steerer. He was saying that the inyan from roimamet gives a place to everything. But on the contrary, then once there's a place, then there's a inyan from Amshocha v'Ishchabrid, what the Reim is Davke Nimshach El HaShofel, and he was saying no, that the Reimim as there was in every sphere, I'll tell you, it didn't give Mochim to anything, and it was not able to be saved the other Matthias Klau. I know when there was a Gilead Midas HaChesed, the Reimim but Midas HaChesed said there's nothing else can possibly have any place, and if Midas HaGevura appeared, then it was either, to use the expression, either me or him. In other words, either the chesed had to become bottle, or there was no place for Midas HaGevura. That's what we just answered, what must be. So now the Rebbe, before we sort of sum up the kasha, the Rebbe says, Zubinyan are now gamkein tzorek lihovin. I hear what I said. Now he's medactic in what we just learned, how the Gitte v'Yodi born kachas, or the two inyonim come together, that the kilu giving him a certain place and the hamshochas arachamim build him into a form of a Matthias. But that's l'chera b'stira to the etzeminian that they don't have any Matthias. And therefore he says, "Ubi inyan and al gamkein tzorek l'hovin me'achas ha'marumim neisen mochim l'kol dover ve'im kein eichu nimshach el ha'shofel shezeu she'ena oimed ve'eze darge." We spoke earlier that the whole inyan from Rachamim, Midas HaRachamim, is davki shayach of misha ein lo kol darge, misha shofel be'emet. I feel mitzad hergish, it's also like that. How do you give him Rachamim? Because you're magish chisreinoi. You're magish how he's not in that moment oimed b'dargim asuyim. Or if he's oimed b'dargim asuyim as ein lo in Rachamim. So if we say that the Reimim is Amitius is kilo noisem mochim l'kol dover, that's not saved anything. It's not say anything by him. Otherwise we'll let it have its place. As if it's noisem mochim. The Reimim is Amitius, and then how does it fit in with the idea of shiflers? Because if it has a mokim, then yesh b'zeh is a darge. That's mineu bay akasha. That's a mineu bay in the tad. Reimim is Amitius, kill you having your cake and eat it too. You're saying that mitzad echad nothing has any darge cloud in betachas hashiflers, and therefore there is the amshochas harachamim. And you say no, the etzim amshochas harachamim, that implies that he's got a certain twices mochim by idea. Is mamel l'chera, that's a stira meneu bay. U'me'achas ha'neisen loy mochim ve'erech hari u'oyed be'eze darge. As if he's aimed be'eze darge, then it's not Reimim Amitius and him shochim el ha'shofel. But chutz mizeh, that's kilo akasha in the inside the inyan of the tad Amitius Reimim. Upon him, from that we see that Reimamus Amiti is nice and mocking called. In other words, that everything has a place, nothing is a stira. On the contrary, everything can be nimshach, and is chabres, the ganze makabel and the mashpia. The Elul in Toyu, it wasn't like that. But Toyu, the Reimamus Davke saw how the other Indian was a Matthias. And if the other Indian is a Matthias, then Reimamus will say, another Matthias apart from me, oh, that's a problem. Well, now we see that the Amiti Sinium from Reimamus works mitzad bittul Amiti, mitzad shifla. What shifla is in bittul gufa, the idea of bittul noisaf. Because bittul is stama ayin and klali. Aber shifla is the pshat, enko era klal uklal. We see with the dafke where is, and that was the side question that we asked, that if you say everything has a place, then that's still not marting with the etzem concept of shifla. Amamela wuz it or shifla? Amamela yemot everything is nimshach, and that's dafke because the marumam sees everything, and the embassy sees everything to be batil. Oh, but if the marumam sees something to be a Matthias, then that gets in his way. Then that interferes with the Yinam from the Reimamus. Amamila asks herself to Shaila, how come that we say in Toihu that the Reimamus led to a Yinam of seeing something as a Matthias, and therefore it had to be Mavatal, that Matthias, in order to achieve or preserve its Reimamus. That the Yinam from Reimamus implies that everything is bottled by Matthias. Ask yourself to Shaila.
What's the Mia?
Huh?
What's Tamua here?
What's Tamua?
I should expect something else in
Tamua is that if we say that Reimamus means that everything is Tachlis Ashiflas, then that means that everything has a place and nothing is says of one the other. On the contrary, is Chabras in Dover Hakishof. But if you say the Reimamus implies that the other thing will get in your way, then that's a stira in the concept of Reimamus.
But you asked it about Toh, Dafka.
Yeah, that's talking about Toh. It doesn't matter.
So what's the Tamia especially in Toh?
So what's wrong with Toyo is that the Reimamus doesn't seem to right. It doesn't seem to be right. That's what's wrong. That's what's wrong with Toyo. But the Reimamus doesn't seem to be right. And Amina asks us to ask herself to Shaila, what is to blame? What is to blame? Is the thing making itself for a Matthias? That's what to blame? Or is it that the Reimamus is to blame? Can you understand the idea? In other words, Efsha, the pshat is that in Reimamus Kufa there are different, some sort of different dargas or ifanim. I would call it ifanim rather than dargas. The different ifanim in Reimamus. If the well, we'll see. There's a Reimamus which is emes a Reimamus because it's bottled by it's bottled completely, has no get of any Matthias. And never emes a Reimamus. Yeah. Oh, but there's a Reimamus which feels itself to be a Reimamus. Now, where it feels itself to be a Reimamus, that doesn't emes a Reimamus. You follow?
That's the Ramas to Toh.
Yeah, that's a Reimamus to Toh. Aber that's what they are telling. The teretz is that surely the Reimamus nicht to become. That's what we're going to say. Says the Rebbe, Klolos ha'efresh beheaded tfisis mokim, shemitad ha'reimamus, who she'im roya oisei b'pinas heder ha'metzias b'emes, that if the reimamus sees the makabel to be without any metzias b'emes, beheder ha'metzias b'emes, ozari hu nimshach elov keteva amrumam liyis nimshach l'shov. Avo kasher roya oisei b'pinas metzias dovo. When the Reimamus sees him to be in a Matthias Dovo, Matthias Hafochi is even a Matthias Hafochi from his Matthias. Yeah, and on the contrary, he becomes a steerer to the Reimamus. Yeah, and the Reimamus has to be mevatel him. Yes, says the Rebbe V'zehu, he says, the B'sfiras that to you, Shemitzad HaReimamus, Shehoya B'chinas said, Al Dog Moshel, Hoya had Tefis Mokim, Midas HaGvura. A Midas HaGvura couldn't have any place. Therefore, if you wanted there should be Midas HaGvura, you had to be Mevatel, the union of Midas HaChesed. Mikol Mokim, Harize Nira, Gabi Midas HaChesed, Bepchinas Matthias, Dover. Gabi der Union, it was nearer to be a Matthias Dover. In other words, it wasn't Tefis mocking by him, because he said, I am the only one, and Miller you're garnished. Or on the other hand, he said, if you want to be something, then you won't be a garnished, then you'll be in my way. Umichada Reimamas Mikomokim said, Umichada Reimamas EF Shalizboil Eza Matthias. Now that's a cloud in all Reimamas. That's only a cloud Achoiza Lamitius Musik Harimamas. Where there's Reimamas, and there's another thing which shows itself to be Matthias, then that will interfere. Even in the Reimamas Amitias. The reason why everything is good with the Reimamas Amitias is that nothing really shows itself to be a Matthias. And if it is, then he makes it into a Matthias. Or not that it is near a low Matthias.
Then it would be a fault in the Rambam. If he makes that guy as a Matthias.
Oh, that was the side kasha we asked. That's the small kasha we asked in the brackets. That'll get a teretz as we go along. That's only a side kasha. Because if he gives it a certain Matthias, then it's clear he's made it into a Matthias. As in case it's not shuffle betachlis. And the idea is that the teretz of them is a little bit easier in a way, because since he made it into a Matthias, therefore it's not really a Matthias. You follow? Because he makes it into a Matthias. Neither does a Matthias mitadat. It's like the famous mashal, for example, B'shas the Melech, who sits at the Suda with Kol Avodo. And then all of a sudden he's Makarev, so everybody's bottled, when the Melech is there, every bottled by Matthias. And all of a sudden the Melech goes to a little Ish Poshet, and he takes the Ish Poshet, and he brings him and sits him down alongside him, and makes a whole Matthias out of him. So you might think that person becomes a Matthias now, like I'll be the Matthias of the Melech. So what is the answer? That since the Melech himself made him for a Matthias, then he's not a Matthias. Well, not only he's not a Matthias, on the contrary, he's indicatory just how great the Melech really is. That's a peak faket. That's what we'll see those are the turns in them. Therefore, said the Rebbe, Mitzad HaReimamas Yeh shall Yisbel Eza Matthias. Ubiyemes, Hare Yesh Matthias, and a Kli Ela Rebbe, Lavidas Kana. In other words, that's in all Reimamas. I feel in the Matthias HaReimamas. Because Shein Shehu Matthias Hafochi, how much more so if it's a Matthias, the opposite way. Aber isebe Madreges Hatikun, Shu She'ein Royal Matthias Dover, Oisoel Matthias Dover. He doesn't see any other Matthias to be a Matthias Dover. Umishum Zeh, who Davke Nimshach Elov, Davke because of that, the Teva, that's not Alpi Seichel, but the Teva makes it that he's Nimshach Elov, the Indian Morim Vakodish Esh Koin Estako, Al Davke dwell with him, Davke in him and with him, is the Indian from the Amitius Adira, as it were. That the whole thing is dependent on whether the Mekabel is nearer a Matthias Dover or is not. That in the spheres the Toyo is nearer a Matthias Dover, if he is Matthias Dover, he's Maval with the Minyan HaReimamas. Mashin in a Matthias in HaReimamas, what we call him Metatikun, Eino nearer to Matthias Dover Klal. He did make him into a Matthias Dover, that tells me what we just answered. We bow as he's not a Matthias Dover, then there's nothing that disturbs the Reimamas. If Amir is made the Amitis HaReimamas, if Amir it's possible for him to be Mischabe im Kol Erev Echad. That's the din. If Amir asks himself to Shaila now, for what is it as into Reimamas gets moving, all of a sudden it runs into a Matthias Dover, which is nearer a Matthias. And in Tikkun, the Reimamas doesn't see the Dover to be a Matthias. Imam asks himself to show how does that work? Is it because the other thing is be'emes a Matthias, in some way or another it is a Matthias, and therefore it disturbs Roim, because that's a klav in the Roim, or do we say no, that it's a problem in the Roim Skuf? And that's what we're going to see in the coming month. So we'll just say the Kitzur. He said, Dehinei toyu v'tikun hein ma uban. And we saw that the inyan from toyu was the inyan from malucha. And we saw that ban was the inyan from gematria v'heima, or that's the inyan from yeshes v'reimames. And we saw that even though it was reimames, we used the word yeshes. Now that's what's going to be ultimately the ultimate beer. That the reimames of toyu is, as you might call pogum, with the inyan of what's called yeshes. He said, therefore, yeshes v'reimames, shaloi hoyu noisnim mokim zeh le'ezeh, v'loi hoyu seivlim zeh. Even more, they were not saved one day. Umishum zeh, hoyu hashvir, or hoyu so hashvir. Ulachere, ma she'ina noisem mokim, hu inin heder tefisas mokim. He said, therefore it doesn't give the inyan for mokim, because it doesn't have any place. Ein a mokim. Usheina seivlei hu shetefes mokim. That can both be true. We could have said beide Sachen nehmen. That if he's inyan for him and therefore he doesn't give it any place, then how can all of a sudden we say that it gets in his way to the point she'eina seivl? So that's already the beginning that something is pogum in the etzem reima. He said, "V'gam areimames." The truth is that emes areimames is nation mokim ve'eret lekol dover. V'teva hamarumon liyis nimshach el ashofel. Akamei arachimim mitad areimames. Now that was talking about the etzem from reimames, and now we talk about the inyan from gilui harachamim. But even though, as we pointed out, that rachamim is not really a midah. That's a dover. It's not a midah, because in Nimshal, every midah is kosher with ezish or regish. In other words, mitzad regish v'tam, and then we can say that that's got epis of regish, kosher, or ezish or inish or midah. And midah is also in from gvul, midah is also in from measurement. Of a barrier, what you say that the rachamim is nimtzah mitzad the reimamas itself, and that's reimamas amiti is. So then it's not really a midah. No, there's a kilo amin. How do you call it? Amin ashpoa atzmi as from the atzmis to kol echad echad, like we saw in the inyan of. And maybe that's a debut we say in davening. Alkeir v'racham melcho horabim, rachamecho horabim. In other words, that your rachamim, it would only you know the form of rachamim. Those are the immediate inyan rachamecho horabim.
When he says here, the aromas noten makom v'rek lekol davar, afilu davar metzias? Afilu davar shu metzias?
No. What we mean to say is that it gives place, is the taisa that's able to give ashpa ve'ishchabris to that inyan. Or something which is a metzias, it's not able to give any place to it. That's what we saw before. Nois and mochim lekol davar, the pshat mitzad the reimamas, he's able to be mischaber nimshach lekol echad ve. V'amir is a kemoi rachmei hamelech al hakoil shekulam shefeilim negdoi, because nobody has any erech or metzias legabe, therefore the rachamim of the melech is the immediate rachamim. Like we have the cloud, but Pnei Melech Chaim. Morim v'kodesh esh koin estako. The tafki mitzad the immediate arim, as he can dwell with anything which is in the form of a dako. Klolos ha'inyan the bereimim is kasher roya ha'shofel beheda ha'metzias hariunim shekol. When he sees how the emes is, that everything is beheda ha'metzias, that he's nimshach to him. Okay, sheroya b'metzias. Ain't a yochel seivlei. So efresh beitele latikul. Amamele. The shaila is, how can there be as amatzias that emes areimim can see something to be amatzias? If it's emes areimim, then it's not in the get of a Matthias at all. So how can it be nearer a Matthias? That's Floy. That's the Shai. Alright, so he says, B'shyata d'shmaya leil alot d'chag ha'shvuos, tofresh ayin daled, v'yedaber Elokim es kol ha'dvorim ha'ele, v'tzorik lahovin mipnei ma nema b'matan Torah Shem Elokim. Halo yudua d'Shem Elokim hu midas ha'tzimtzum v'ha'helem. But not only just Tzimtzum, of also the Indian of Helem. What Helem is the Indian of not being Begolui cloud. The Indian of Tzimtzum is the Indian of Miut, Gilui, Miut Ha'oyer. Of Helem at the time that he's not there, Begolui. Of a mountain Torah, Hoyo Gilui, Oyer ain't safe. Mamish Gilui. Vayered Havaya al Har Sinai. And there we see Dafki the Shema. The Shem Havaya, the where was the Gilui al Afila, Mochim Gashmi, Kamo Har Sinai, then we see we use the Shem Havaya. Shahoya Gilui, Ayin of Revelation, and Gilui, where ain't safe, Mamishla, Mater. Uksiv, V'chol ha'om, Roim Esa Koilis, Roim Esa Nishma. We see that so great was the Gilui Elokus, that the Chushim, as it were, went out of their normal Hagbala, that the Odom, Bechusha, was in a name from Yitzhak, Mi Medida Hagbala, he was able to see even a thing which is normally only Nishma. Mitzad that, Gilui Elokus Mamish, causes what you might call a beetle in the Hagbalas of the Gidrei HaOhilam. Over Nesinus HaTorah, Apostle Barnoichi Havaya. Well, that's even higher. Anoichi is even higher than the Shema. Havaya, Mamish, Gilui Atzmusai. Shekol Zeh, who Gilui Erein Seif, Mamish. So we see that the whole Inyan which led, and the whole sort of run-up, as you might call it, to the Inyan of the Seres HaDibros, was Yered Havaya, Anoichi Havaya, all those Inyanim. Why is it that it begins, the etzem pesicha of the Seres HaDibros Atzma begins with Shem Elokim. V'im kein lo manema kan Shem Elokim davke. So, I mean, l'chayra, it's like in the middle. Mitad the etzem hachonas, it was Vayer Ravaya la Sinai. Mitad the etzem Gilui the Seres HaDibros Atzma, it was Anoichi Havaya Elokecha. Of a killer the etzem pesicha, the Eibishter himself, to lead into the Anoichi, was Tafki Mitad Midas, or what appears to be Midas Tzimtzum V'ya Ahilem. Mamera Eze Inyan Yesh Leze Kam Be'emter Kilo Alza Pesicha to the etzem Nasinus HaTorah. So now we go back to the Shaila, or Hovin Jay Yesh Lahaktim Mashan is Burliyo, Tasfiras HaToyu Hoyu B'chinas Pirud. And what was a Pirud? Shaloi Nosnu Mokim Zela there, that was the first Inyan. And V'loi Hoyu Seiv Lim Zeh as that the Inyan from Loi Nosnu Mokim, well, that was Mitzad the Reimam, that one was killed at no place. That would have been okay. Maybe we could understood that. Was it the Inyan from Loi Hoyu Seiv Lim, which meant there had to be a beetle from one before there could be the other. So he said, L'chayra,
in the previous period, he said, Reimus, Shelo Hayu Yochim Nisbol.
What?
He said, Reimus, Shelo Hayu Yochim Nisbol, that's it.
Yeah.
That he said in the previous, not
yeah. And remember, that's the problem. Well, L'chayra, Ha'inyonim Seisrim Zela the Miyachish Asfir Acheres, Lo Yoye Lo Tvisas Mokim. So now it's not just like two Inyonim. The Rebbe says really they themselves are Dvarim Noigdim or Shoinim. That if you say that because each Shvira was in Tachas Arimim of Maluka, and therefore the other thing had no reference, well, it's Inyan, everything else had no place. That doesn't mean that the other thing is managed to you. Ain't chatzayvel. You don't look at it as a Matthias Beklau. Therefore, since every sphere had no place, how was it that they were not able to be saved one day? He said, if we take the concept of Reimam as שהמרומם דווקא נויסן מוקים לכל דבר. והמרומם לי יש נמשך אלא השופל, היא דווקא is נמשך, המשחבר בתורי עניין. However, the kashas are two main shilas. First of all, in Toyu Maneu Bay, that since one wasn't Nisan Mochim to the other, why you have to say Einam Seivlim there? There are two in Yonim which are not necessarily Shovim, no, on the contrary, they're almost Afuchim. And then, in the Etchim concept of Reimamus itself, Reimamus, on the contrary, is everything is Shofel, Betachas HaShiflas, therefore it's Nimshach Ela Shofel. Why should we say Cholila that Eina Noisan Mochim or Einam Seivlim there? On the contrary, Mitzad Reimamus, it should be Dafki Seivlim to the point of Nimshach. And the Fara said that Rabbi Dosa the two main shilas, and then we saw that there was a shilah like in the Sograim, that if he already gives Mokim the cold over, then he's made it into a shtickle Matthias. And that's another thing which will demand a teretz kilo meneo bay. When his boy, the kasher hamarumam roye es hazulas, when the marumam sees the zulas, between his head and hamachias, harihu nimshach elov, when emes reimamas, looks with the emes eye of emes reimamas, and he sees that everything is betachas hashiflas, and therefore he's nimshach elov. Avu kasher roya oisei, between his machias, oz lo yuchal asayvloi, therefore he can't put up with him. So as we said, Asas told the Shaila, what's at fault here? Was it the times the Reimamus B'Emes sees everything as B'tachas HaShiflas, is how come that Reimamus can see something to be Amatiyas, and therefore Eina Yoholu, the Seva, what does it Diema? We said that there's a Mitias in the Mitzad Reimamus, and then we have to say that either the Dover that he's looking at is Shulik, or maybe the Reimamus that can possibly see something to B'miyat Tzir's Dover, then there's something wrong in the Reimamus. So that's what he's going to be masmed out. The B'emes, the fault is in the Reimamus, not in the Makaber. So he says, V'hina sibus hadover. The reason for the inyam masha azulas nira l'matiyas, or another thing can appear to be a matiyas l'gabi emes a Reimamus. Maybe the taich is because B'emes it's a matiyas. In other words, that what is shulik in the makaber. In other words, that because he's taka matiyas B'etzim, therefore even the Reimamus picks up his matiyas. Yeah. And the Reimamus says, a matiyas, that's problematic. Amatiyas is problematic. In other words, that then we would say that the fault is not in the Reimamus, but the fault is in the Makabu, because he's mamish amatiyas. Okay, maybe spheres the Toyu. Let's go even further and blame the spheres themselves in Toyu. Harigam midas agvura hoya because matiyas murgash k'moya chesed. The chesed is only a dogma, and the chesed says koed that the inyan of my chesed is here. Your gvura can't have any place whatsoever, because I feel myself to be amchiyah. So the Rebbe said that's only a dogma. But let's say gvura was there, then you wouldn't have been able to have chesed, because gvura would have also said the same thing. Gvura would have said, koed that I am mayor. I know em. And the Anoah seems to have a rare built-in makuvul here. I know him. He said, okay. He says, Lo yehoyu yechilim achesed lisbe. I'm sorry, Lo yehoyu yechila achesed lisbe matzias midas hage. Because B'emes he's a matzias. Ach says the Rebbe B'emes lo yizehu ike hasiba. Maybe it's a bit of a sibba, but it's not. It's not ike hasiba. Now what we have to see as we go along, why does he say that? L'chora, he just should say lo yizeh hasiba. The sibba is something. Well, but the fact that he says lo yizeh ike hasiba, maybe that is a little bit of a sibba. In other words, the tzok, there is a little bit of a a problem also in the Mekablim in Tohu. There's a bit of a problem also in the Mekablim, and that's what we're going to see, that there's such a thing called Rotze. Have you ever heard of Rotze? A Rotze is mitzad the Mekablim. Yeah? A Rotze is a Ayin from Yeshus. Even, no matter how high it might be in the form of beetle, it might be in the form of wanting to go out and completely lose your tears, beetle, but that's a meaning that you want to be Korev, and you want to go upwards. Well, this is Hadikot. This is Bekorev Vosam, Lifnei Hashem Beyo. Van Hepech Harot. And that's even from the Bnei Aron, Lamoshe. But the Yerachim HaKodesh says you can't possibly be Masi, the Goydel Madrega from the Bnei Aron. And Afal Pikein. Erefa is, we're going to see as we go along, that the Rebbe says, Ayin ze Ika HaSibba. That's a simon that Epis was of Shashtikol Sibba Edi. Of it's not Ika HaSibba. Shari, Gam b'midas atikun, kol mida usfira, who brings Matthias down to Sachidi. The Rebbe says, that's what we'll see as we go along. That's another reason why it's not Ika. It's not the whole Sibba. He said, because even in Tikkun, you can't say that the midas, how they are in Tikkun, are not a Matthias Dover. Now, well then, you can be a Matthias Dover, or at least you admit that you know, and at least you're ready to be bottom. Yeah? Even you ask if it was a Matthias Dover, or you can be a Matthias Dover, and you say, but not Cholila, Ad Kerikach, over, no, the search of there. The Emlo in the form of unknown.
So, what's the Siva of the scholars?
Huh?
The Siva for scholars in Atzilus.
In Tikkun? Yeah, Einochanam. Yeah. That's got to do with the Inyamin scholars.
Why?
You see, the scholars also works in two Eifanim. This works mitzad the Midas Atzma, and then it works mitzad the Elium, which is Meir Aleichem. That's all the Dine van the Beetle in Tikkun. Aber auch ein Problem, a Matthias Daya. You understand? A Matthias Daya. So that was a Ravivimi, one of his Matthias Mulgash. It's not a grubber Matthias. How do you call it? A Matthias Mulgash. Yeah, Kemoi Vesfiras to you. Kol Mokim, Harizeh Buchinas Meh. But we said nonetheless, even the Spheres and the Midas, particularly in Tohu, in the Tikkun, they are informative. The Bechol HaMadreges, Yesh Bechinas HaMatzias, Gam B'Madreges Shelifnei HaTzil. He said a certain trace of Matzias is even in the Eilam Shelifnei HaTzil. A certain trace of Matzias. In other words, what was the whole union of the Tzimtzum Harishon? The whole union from the Tzimtzum was, what did you do? You took away everything. Why did you take away everything? Just juggle around, just put this more, emphasize that, and reach your pattern. No, before the Tzimtzum was Einochanami, Einoi Mavadim, Mamish Kipshuti, absolute. And the Father Abraham took that away completely. Or that whole union from that, as it were, very good, that disappeared with the Tzimtzum. And then you brought back a Kav. What was a Kav? A Kav was already reckoning with the fact that there's going to be a union, Epis, very good, Mokim, Hamodas Ho'il. What we're going to be mechadish here is that the Rebbe said from the very moment of what you might call the Gilui Harishan, after the Tzimtzum Harishan, you're already talking about a Matthias. Matthias Amiti, Matthias Alpitor, Avochoponim, Ayin from Matthias. At a time, we're going to see that it's hard to say that Sof Kotov, that is the real Ike HaBoda. Because if we're going to say Matthias, then everything is a Matthias. So there we said the mina tzimtzum b'kol madrega. Where are we? The b'kol madrega yesh b'chinim gam b'madrega shelifnei atzilus. Ukiyadua the mina tzimtzum harishoin hu yiso ascholos inen hamat. Mamish from the Rega at the Tzimtzum Rishon, you might say, was already the beginning of the Inen HaMatzias. Say Inyan ad sheloi nivro ha'olam. It's one on the deal bezeh. Yeah, the Pirchi, the Rabbi Eliezer, ad sheloi nivro ha'olam hoyu ushmoi bil. And who is mamish, according to one shot, talking about Atzmas, when Shmoyedin, when they are called Atzmas, or Pshoti Madaimin was there, they were talking about a very high Madragi, mamish Atzmas, and the Ur Arishon, Miskalamina Atzmas, and we say, Acheloi Nivro, Oilom, we come to the Oilom, and we're talking about as Matthias, mamish Kolobiatz, Musa. And therefore we say that Acheloi Nivro, Oilom means Ad Tzimtzum Rishon. And once you go past the Tzimtzum Rishon, you can only use the expression Nivra Ho Olam. Afavi was Nivra is not shaykh on such a level of the beginning of Matthias is already shaykh. And that's what's put down in the Matthias Oya. There's already in Oya, which you can call it the Zohar Kodesh says Lav Inun Hoirin. That the Madrega Shalom Ilam is not Oya. Lav Inun Hoirin. It's Oya, but it's not. It's only Gila Atzmas. Over here, after the Tzimtzum, it's already a Matthias from here. It's Cholosinian a Matthias. Acheloi Nivro Hoilam. Dainu Koidim Shoya Tzimtzum. That's the famous beer. The Lashon Acheloi Nivro Hoilam means Koidim Tzimtzum Rishon. The Beir ain't safe Shlef Nea Tzimtzum. Lo Yesh Inyan a Matthias Klar. That's one on the famous deal when the Rebbe Rashab used the expression Lo Yesh. Lo yesh is not correct lashon kodesh. You don't say lo yesh, you say ayin. When he says lo yesh, then he means to completely cancel the whole idea altogether. It's only every now and then you find it in the Maimari. So he says lo yesh inen hamatzias klal. There's no inen or afila, what you might say to use the old vernacular term. There's not even a shmek tabik. There's not even a shmek tabik of Matthias Klau. Da gam de Goliv Galifo Betiru Iloa. The Zohar Kodesh begins with that expression, Goliv Galifo Betiru Iloa. And what do we say? There's a din in Kira, the Matthias Akelim. With the whole in Koidem Tzimtzum, or it's already the beginning of the Hashora Bekoyach, all the different inyonim that were there. Koidem HaTzimtzum, like an engraving of the Inyan HaMatthias, Epis was a Geda for Matthias, for who in Shia V'atzmei Bekoyach, Kol Ba'Sha'otzim Dias B'Meir. That's a pshat. There are other pshatim in that. Well, that's the one that Rabbi, that Kiyu the Eibusha foresaw within all the Matthias of the elements which was going to be. Eins beginnes Matthias Klau. That's all a Shora Bekoyach inside the Ein Seif. But not Cholila that it's actually a Matthias. אבל יחד צמצום הויס חולס עניין המציאות וכל שכן באצילס שהוא הינס המציאות שגם הערב הינס מציאות כל שכן הכלים הם הינס מציאות. If we're going to blame everything on the Makabel that he's a Matthias, then everything's a Matthias. Even Atzilus is a Matthias. And for what it is that in Atzilus lo roim et Matthias. And in Toyu roim et Matthias. Now we have to say that the roy, he's the one. He's either looking 100% right or kaviol, as it were. He's looking a little bit kiloloi, megamre. And that leads to the Indian of Nira Matthias. I was able to say Ike Hasiva, but there's still a little bit of a Siva also in the Matthias and the Makabel, and we'll see about that as we go along. For that it means is that if you want to be mamshik, the emissary cook from the emissary Ramimus and the emissary cook of the Ramimus Amitias, then you got to be a shofel beer emes. You know, Rabbi Mendel Vitebsky, he used to sign himself a shofel beer be'emes, you know, there's a waste of them.
Emes v'shachar.
And then there was somebody, one of his followers, one of his close followers, you know, also started writing letters and signing a shofel be'emes. Somebody complained about it, you know. So they told Rav Mendele, so Rav Mendele called him in and he said, you know, what's this, why do you have to sign yourself a shofel be'emes? What's it called? So he couldn't understand what's the shofel, because the Rebbe signs himself that way. Rav Mendele asked you, you know, which one is this? So he said, the Rebbe schreibt doch euch so. So the world says, I don't know if he actually said it that way, but Mashu me'ain that he says that even in a shofel be'emes, so du bist be'emes a shofel. That's a little bit out there of what we're getting at. That's a little bit out there of what we're getting at.
We have to tie up the inyanim here.
Oh, so the Indian is that Mamela, we got to bring Moshiach. That's the Indian. And Mamela, the Rebbe says you have to bring, there's no, you know, what I feel, Matthias, Nirali, Lo Nirali, you have to just bring Moshiach. There's a deep minute. It's a deep rachman. That's what the Alter Rebbe brings in the Siddur, the whole big arichas. The Alter Rebbe brings over there that the midas rachman for Elul are really not the ones of Moshe. They're the midas rachman for Micha. You know, when you go to Tashlik, you read those midas rachman kilo, that they're like the pnimis of the midas rachman. They're called the Yirgum midas rachman Micha Novi. Mikel Chamoicha Neisa Ovin Veiva Petra. The Rebbe says in the Siddur that the Yud Gimel Midas Rachmim of Elul are those. It's not the Yud Gimel Midas Rachmim of Moshe. That's all. And they're the Pnimius and Atzmius of the Yud Gimel Midas. They're the Neshama of the other Yud Gimel Midas Rachmim. Ich muss Gora hören natürlich. Physik kommt da ist der Spur mögliche Weise. In Yud Gimel Midas Kufa das Pnimius wie Atzmius. Das ist die Linie von, like you said, Abu Kulam is able to put him here. As I give from Rahman, everybody's going to play. And the pillar is, that when can the miller be Megala that? Definitely when he's besotted. Definitely when he's besotted, I am not to say Megala does. So the Rebbe says in a place, I'm saying, the Rebbe says, from Buis, because really the miller in a way belongs in the Sodom more than he does in the ear. From Buis, Dira Betach Tuinim. That's the evidence of place. And the man, a Chiddish, Hotzum. I have to look it up, because that's my angel. The Rebbe says in a Sikh.
The video, it's a Shabbos, I don't know if you saw it.
No, she can't, I didn't see it. I checked
that's when
my
you
Shabbos.
That's when you Talmud Knehamelech.
My Shabbos, I was showing Sikh. I had to be in the Kazakhstan of 120. But I didn't, I was very sick. I got a beautiful Levant tonight when I was out to go and be covered. Auch upon him, that's it the Indian. We gotta bring Mashiach, guys, gotta bring the good pastors, Mami's pastors. And you can't, the Rebbe says you have to bring Mashiach, what's the world, ain't malas. Those midas rachman, what's me a shofel, als me midas rachman. It is a shofel with tasches, a shiflet. And I remember, Omen Kenya here, and as I save upon him, Yofe is, as I know all these yonim, when taken me out mamish.
Also, like I said, it's like Gila of Atzmus.
Yeah.
More in
that's what the Rebbe says in the Maimah. The Rebbe says in the Maimah that Gila Atzmus Stavke more than on Rosh Hashanah. And he said the year, or their year, what the Rebbe, that someone said calls the year of Tatoa, but this is really a more than year. But their year is mamish a year Eloah should be Eloah. Like everything, the Rebbe always says, that's in the Maimah, not in Chelik. Good. Okay, guys.
Yeah,